All right. So we are here. It is June 7th, Sunday, and I have the distinct pleasure to be here with Kris Pajarito, and she's here to speak with me about Ghostblade. And yeah, we're just going to have a bit of a conversation, walk through things. And again, my name is Nikki Flores, and we are working on our anthology. It's coming out soon. We're really, really, really excited about it. Okay, so we'll get started. So the way this will go is I'll just do a brief introduction and then we'll be posting this on YouTube. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening to this. We'll discuss the work and a couple questions. You can always drop questions and directly connect with her as well. And then, yeah, we'll just go from there. All right. Welcome, Kris.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
So Kris, I'll tell you a bit about her. So Kris Pajarito, first of all, we met through, if you look back in our Instagram, we had a gathering with Creatures of Cuento, which is a Filipino store, and they sent her manananggal, like a stuffed animal manananggal, which was adorable, hilarious. Like, when do you ever see that in the store? So I was really happy.
It pulls apart. It's amazing. Well made. It's so cute.
So I'll tell you about Kris. So she started out in entertainment, and she was penning storyboards and running dailies for directors and producers at DreamWorks Animation. And she finished her visual arts and film degree at UC San Diego. And then after 2 credited feature films, both in story and in editorial, and a concurrent Master's of Arts and Humanities, because she's obsessed with history and culture, she decided to change her path from film editing to writing. And so after even a decade, more than a decade later, she still doesn't consider herself a one discipline kind of writer. Her approach to copywriting is exactly the same as when she approaches creative writing. So she thinks of consumers as characters. Who are they? What makes them tick? And the backstories are endless. So you can find her at krispajaritowriter.com. That's Kris Pajarito, Pajarito. Writer.com. All right. So yeah, welcome, Kris.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to make sure that we are on the same page. Like, if we were at the Filipino buffet, we're at the dessert table, is there something that you would be going for? Because I'd be right by the kitchen, like heaping up that coconut on top.
I go backwards. If there's dessert, I'll go for the dessert. The dinka, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
So if it's there, like, I love everything, but yeah, and it usually just then if it's like the main stuff, rice first.
Of course. Of course. I was gonna say to you, like, when you went to UCSD, so I grew up in Penasquitos, up north, Northern County.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I think there's a great thing because there's a lot of Asians, at least on the West Coast. There's a lot more Filipinos. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we moved. My mom moved us when I was in high school to San Diego. It's just there's a lot more Filipinos. So you would have more opportunity to be invited to places that had more of a spread of Filipino food. So that's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'd love to talk about Ghostblade. So first of all, you mentioned that this is a webtoon, and for those of you who know about webtoons, raise your hand. I didn't know about this, but this is a comic strip that is in horizontal, vertical version, and you can find them at webtoons.com. That's WEBTOONS.com, and that's where you'll find it. So yeah, just tell me, can you just give me a 101, like explain what that is and how you into it?
So a webtoon. Okay, so I got maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, I got really into K-dramas. Actually, stories are amazing, and I was like, man, I really would love that for us. I'm not that there isn't amazing ones, but even more of a overall universal taste for all markets, right? So, but anyway, I would watch it, and then there were some that were based on webtoons, and I come from comics. Actually, my parents had a comic store when I was little. It was my first job bagging comics in the 90s when the Comic-Con in San Diego was at the Scottish Rite Center. It was literally about comics. There were 2 guys walking around in one was Superman. We were all cracking up because we were like, oh, look at that, they're so into it. Now, of course, it's huge. It's huge for so many genres and so many areas. So but with webtoons, it's a fun thing, coming from animation as well. It moves, visually. If you love film, it's just each it just does feel like filmic. So there's so many great stories and narratives. I'm on Webtoon Canvas, so it's for individual creators, because the main ones are backed by studios, but it's just me and my amazing artist Cassiel. She is a painter that I've like admired her work. She does so much for the Filipino community here in New York. And I was like, one day I was like, would you ever want to do comics? And she's like, yeah. And we actually looked around for publishers for like a year. And then I was like, we should just try, like, let's just get it out there. So this is a prequel to The Ghost Blade is a prequel to a main story that I wrote. So yeah,
let's dig into that a little bit. Like, there, you shopped it around patiently for a year, and I would say, Kris, is it possible that people just don't know how to understand it and like absorb it because it's so far beyond the mainstream? No, let's not say that way. We are the mainstream. You are like advancing. They'll catch up in like maybe 18 months or 24 months, right?
Like, I pitched it at New York Comic Con, right? You can go on my Instagram. It's the first post that I have. And that clip says, wow, there's actually a hole for this, for Filipino. There's not a lot of Filipino stories out there. But it's hard to find, like it's hard to place it. So, and that's fine. I've gone back and gone, this is very so this is based on real history, but I plopped in a hero that could have been there, and it's basically a what if history, like what if the Philippines, what if we had won against the Spanish? So my story is a prequel to that, though, and it's a coming of age. So Webtoon fits a lot of romance stories, but I was like, mine's a coming of age. Is the girl that's the hero, but she's like, in the main story, she's an assassin, but this is like why she became that. And in the main story, you'll find out more. She doesn't want to kill anymore. So it's like a John Wick, meets like, let's say, Black Widow almost, if you're like a nerd about that stuff. But like, yeah, it's fun. It's fun. We'll see where it goes, but really passionate about it. And there's a lot of history that goes, like, a lot of people though don't want to be like smacked over the head with history. So what better way to go through it than just with like connecting with people on other issues, and like, presenting a story that it could be their childhood, or it could be them and how they relate to the world, their parents, and hardships.
Absolutely. It's definitely like our stories deserve to be told, but the subtext of that is that, honestly, when I was growing up, I'm a little older than you. Well, I'm a lot older than you, but I saw Connie Chung. She was like the first Asian face on the television. And then growing up, never in the ads, never in any kind of print materials, just, and that feeling of constantly being othered, like being asked where you're from, being asked, that actually started to make me feel like I didn't belong, which is what I'm hoping to do with this press. Is we belong everywhere. We're on every continent. And also our culture and our stories deserve to be told and reflected back to us. So who knows, Kris, somebody picking that up and reading that and being like, oh my gosh, she gets me. She knows my story. She knows how I deal with my folks, my parents, with my friends, my extended family, like the way that people move through the world. We have a very distinct layer of history and culture, and that deserves to be represented. So wonderful to have your work out there in the world.
Absolutely. No, I think that even what you're doing with this publication, and honestly, thank you for letting me add in a poem. I think it's important. And the biggest thing is like, we have to keep helping each other. It's like, whatever we want to keep blaming it on, whether it's colonization, we're all exploring it together. And honestly, it's nothing new. No one's gatekeeping anything. Like what other cultures are doing is like, they're helping each other. Let's say it's not gonna bring each other down. Like, for instance, like people that
my mom gave this to me. It's when they raise the house.
Oh, yes.
Everybody lifts together, Kris.
That's right.
We're all doing it together. Awesome. So yeah, back to your creative process now. I'm like, okay, so you did poetry, but I know on your website, if you go to the website, it's like poetry, webtoon, illustration, like scripts. So how does your what can you tell me a little bit about your inspiration, about your process? So for example, I heard in my writing group about somebody who doesn't choose the medium of the work until she sits with the subject matter a little bit. So like for you, it's coming out in the Ghost Blake webtoon, but like, how are you coming up with poetry or like drawings or all of that? How does that come to you? Where do you get your inspiration?
Yeah, well, even for the Ghost Blade, I was sitting there writing a comedy. Actually, I'm like really into comedy, and I was like looking back at a film that I really loved. It was like Kung Fu Hustle, and I was freaking cracking up. And then I was just like, I have this. I don't even know if we're allowed to say this anymore. I'm like aging myself, they say, but stop it, but stab it. And then I was like, stab it, huh? And then I was like, oh, oh, do I want to write a story about a girl? Would be hilarious. Like, but if it's like a little and like stabbing, okay. Because I actually had written a girl here a while ago that was like it was like based on like the Natalie Portman film when she was young, and it's like called The Professional. Always been obsessed.
There's like 14 years old. Yeah, totally.
The like that kids can carry so much intelligence that they're actually like, let's trust them a little more.
Get into that a little bit. So why is it that we are always so hesitant or tentative or like, I think it might be because we're just been traumatized by like the rug pulled multiple times, right? And so I think it does mean that we need to be canny and discern situations.
Yeah.
But I guess we have to find a balance somehow, like putting ourselves out there, but also reserving the best for us too. Like that's also part of it.
Absolutely. No, it's like breaking the mold, but also being, I mean, we're all so intelligent, you know, like our people are so talented and so intelligent, but we're maybe, too street smart.
I like think about these multilingual and like, you know, leading an entire country's mindset through their books, you know, with Rizal and some of our heroes. So same thing for us, you know, the webtoon, the drawing, the stories, helping somebody else. You don't even know who it might touch, which is also exciting. Like it might trigger somebody else to come up with a whole nother part of the universe. So I did want to go through some of the different themes or tropes or what do they call it? Like ideas that are coming through in your script. So one is the kind of inherent humanity and dignity of even youth, like somebody who might even be a young person stepping into their adulthood and like honoring that. Also, strength of feminine, like the feminine strength and like deftness with the blade, right? And then what else do you think is coming through in the work that you're exploring if you look at it through someone else?
Well, yeah, it starts out with, you know, just like instead of being led with like all these decisions for you, and I'm not even just talking servitude, because yes, my character, like when she starts out in like one of the lowest classes, and that'll be cool. I think because like learning along the way, I didn't even know we had like what those castes were like. That we had that as well, you know, and but just not just obeying parents, but just like also what your own freedom means and like love. What even is that? Like, is there a different kind of motherhood? Like, and is that okay to not fit into the traditional, like, you know, model? And she's discovering lots of things, and along the way, it's about trust, but it's also about strength of what like you can accomplish too. And it's not violence. There is violence, but it's not just to be violent. It's you know, with Eskrima and like all these arts that were just, that's why like I'm honoring the craft of our martial arts, like with the blade, is that there's so much connected to it, and rediscovering those religions that got buried, animism, and just every living thing has a soul, and what we used to believe in all these things, but like that we did have honor in all those things too. But like there's an old sense of duty like that is lost as you know, like raising children in America versus the Philippines. There's a lot of different.
Totally.
Even in my own upbringing, like, my mom and dad, how many times we don't do that? Okay, we're in America. It's just like, right. So, sure, it's coming from a lens it's diaspora, but like it's also like I think a lot of us who are here and who are second, third gen or like and up are trying to discover that too. But I think that kind of I think of that as, okay, in my discovery, it's like other people who aren't Filipino are also discovering. So maybe that's like a safe space too. I am trying to keep it close to things, but like I'm not trying to claim that I'm, that I was born there and I lived there in the Philippines, but I feel like, like I'm sure you're saying, feeling like an outsider all the time. So that's how I think this character represents that. It's not even being an outsider as an misunderstood child, but also there's that other layer of culturally of like feeling like lost, like you were saying. We're lost and we're trying to find that. I wrote in the Rappler an op-ed, and you can find it on Instagram, but it was just like not feeling like we have an identity here, like as an Asians. We're like the minority of the minority here, like of all the Asians. It's like, I don't know how many times I've been in a book club and some people are talking about their thousands of years of like history, and then just because we haven't had it written down doesn't mean we didn't have that too. You know what I mean? But because they have proof.
Yeah. Even from a more mystical level, Kris, I do believe that our ancestors are driving us. Because, like, I don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. But you still feel the story needs to be told. And it actually won't let you rest until you get it out on the page. And so partially, I'm like goosebumps now. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go way out on a limb. You're going to go way out on a limb. Like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to set it out there and hope that these stories persist. And like you said, it's Filipino values, and they've transmuted across the world. It's not just in one, set of islands anymore. So that's off to you. So Kris is in the middle of releasing episode 3, which does incorporate Filipino history and mythology, mostly coming of age. And this has been fun exploring with you this prequel to the larger story. If you want to find her, she is at Kris Pajarito Writer, and also go to at The Ghost Blade Comic, all one word. Is there any kind of parting message that you would want the reader to know kind of long after they've closed the browser?
After they've scrolled their last scroll.
Yeah, what message would you like them to carry with them?
Well, I think it's honestly about your own journey of like self-discovery. I mean, in reading coming of age things, like maybe there's someone in your life, if not yourself, that is also going through their own story and like trying to navigate it, and just finding those quiet moments that they are probably in the middle of being lost. So maybe help them out a little, maybe ask questions you wouldn't usually ask, and just keep being curious about our stories.
Oh, thank you so much, Kris. So we're at the end of our talk. I really appreciate you taking a chance on us and on knowing that when you jump out, there'll be a landing for you. So I'm so excited to have your story live. We'll be announcing that this next week, and I look forward to a long and fruitful collaboration with you and with the others who are creatives who are advancing our culture and moving us all forward together. So thank you, Kris.
Thank you, guys. I'm so honored. Thank you.